How's it going, David and Comic Book Investments? So it's Monday. So Mondays I like to go through different news or any series reviews, trailers, any comic related things that I see and I normally read and watch anyways. And so I like to kind of have it in a long form video of all that kind of stuff. And sometimes I break it up and put it throughout the week as well, do clips of the show. But yeah, so let's just jump into it. It's Monday. I am very tired because I normally when lunchtime comes around, I don't like to eat really lunch. I have something super small because if I eat something too big, then I just get tired and fall asleep. And I usually don't eat lunch until about 4 or 5 because I basically do like this. It's like an intermittent fasting where I don't have breakfast until noon or 1, but I'm up at 6 a.m. So generally my lunch is around 4. So if I have a decent sized lunch, then I'm just so that's what happened earlier. But anyways, so first up, we got Doctor Strange 2 rumors to include MCU's Wolverine. Crazy thing is, I was talking to my friends about this very same thing. I was like, I bet you anything they're going to introduce. I'm like, well, the Fantastic Four might be introduced through, the Illuminati. But I'm like, I bet you they'll introduce the X-Men this way. They'll be from an alternate universe and somehow they'll collide with the MCU's normal universe and then just kind of port the X-Men over. That's how we'll get them. I think that's my understanding. Or I thought that maybe Doctor Strange will go into the Fox universe and we'll get to see Hugh Jackman and all that kind of stuff. Because the thing is, if we have Patrick Stewart's Professor X, they'll have to go to another universe that doesn't have Patrick Stewart as Professor X, but Professor X exists. Because I don't think they're going to be able to get Patrick Stewart to play Professor X in the MCU X-Men stuff. Because, frankly, he's already pretty old. Anyways, so this new rumor comes out. A rumor suggests that Doctor Strange 2 will introduce Wolverine to the MCU, but it won't be Hugh Jackman. The sequel, directed by Sam Raimi, will see Doctor Strange open the door to the multiverse after casting a forbidden spell, as seen in Spider-Man: No Way Home. Blah, blah, and the multiverse opens the MCU up to every past cinematic variation of the character, allowing Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire to return as Spider-Man. Doctor Strange sequel has already set the rumor mill ablaze since the list of possible characters appear in the film. Cool. Yeah, so I mean that's basically. I'm trying to see. The film is also set to include America Chavez, Patrick Stewart to reprise his role as Professor X. A rumor is posted that Doctor Strange sequel will feature Wolverine. However, the rumor Wolverine is not Hugh Jackman. Yeah, just a bunch of rumors and hopes. The list of characters possibly showing up in Doctor Strange 2 is Tom Cruise is said to be a variant of Tony Stark and Iron Man. That's funny. The reason why this is funny, Tom Cruise is set up as Tony Stark and Iron Man, is because I think either they asked Tom Cruise to play the role of Tony Stark and Iron Man from Iron Man 1 before they cast Robert Downey Jr., or he did a test screening and they decided to go with Robert Downey Jr. because Robert Downey Jr. was much cheaper. And what people don't realize is Robert Downey Jr. was already an Academy Award-winning actor. He was massively huge in the 90s. He won an Academy Award for Chaplin. Really, really big. I believe his parents are actors too, Robert Downey Jr. or something. They're somehow involved in the film industry. But then he, of course, decided to do a bunch of drugs and go to jail for being, having drugs on him, addicted to drugs, all this kind of stuff, typical stuff that happens to celebrities. And so he was basically no one wanted to use him for anything. And so he really couldn't get any good roles or any big movies. So when he got cast as Iron Man, that really just, it gave him a renewal, like a rebirth into the acting sphere. And now he's massively bigger than he was before, but he was big before. So Yeah, it's kind of interesting. So I think they went with him because I remember watching some documentary on it, and they're saying like, well, we could just get Robert Downey Jr. because not only is he good, but he's much cheaper than someone like Tom Cruise. And even at the time, Tom Cruise was huge. With a version of Fantastic Four, Mr. Fantastic being rumor. Even Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool could appear in recently denied rumors. But here's the thing. Of course they're going to deny. They're not going to be like, so I heard that Deadpool is going to show up in your film. Oh, what? Yeah, you caught us. I guess so. No, of course they're going to deny all this stuff. They deny everything. They denied that Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire were in Spider-Man. They even like CG'd them out in the trailer. So they're going to deny every single possible thing you can deny. But so it remains to be seen. Doctor Strange 2 is one of my most anticipated films of this year and probably even last year, even though it didn't come out last year. But I am super excited for this. Super, super excited. All right, moving on. So, Uncharted, starring Tom Holland, who's in also Spider-Man No Way Home, just came out. I am a massive Uncharted fan. It's like pretty much the only video game series that I've played every single one that I can think of. And I like it a ton. It's one of my favorite video games of all time. Loved it, loved it. When I heard that Uncharted was supposed to come out forever ago, but it was in, Hollywood hell where, oh, we have a director. We don't have a director. Oh, we cast someone. Oh, we don't have cast it. Is obviously, I would not be surprised if Todd McFarlane was somehow behind this because that's, it's the same thing with him in the Spawn movie. Oh, we got all this, and nothing materialized. Finally, they materialized it. They cast Tom Holland. I love Tom Holland, but he's not Nathan Drake. Not in the slightest. And here's the thing. If you can't, when I watch a movie or a movie's about to come out and they make wrong steps in like the casting or the trailer seems off or something like that, I'm like, if you mess up in the beginning, that just shows me you don't understand the characters. You didn't play the video game. You know nothing what you're doing. So therefore your movie's going to suck. That's just how it goes. Because if you can't even get a simple thing as casting the right people that fit in the roles, sorry. And so I was like, okay, there's a part in Uncharted 4 where you have to play as young Nathan Drake when he's a kid. And I'm like, oh, this will be the Tom Holland part. And I'm like, well, I really didn't like that part that much, but whatever, it's fine for the story. And it's only like maybe a half hour of gameplay out of like a 20-hour game. So barely at all. And I'm like, okay, they'll do that part. Nope. They didn't. And I saw the trailer. I'm like, nope, he's not young Nathan Drake. He's the full Nathan Drake. And I could not get behind it. I was like, I can't give him my money because I'm so against it. I love Tom Holland, but he is not Nathan Drake at all. It just doesn't work. I'm sorry. It doesn't work. Anyways, read some of the reviews. People that I normally watch reviews said all these things I was afraid of. They said, if you're a fan of the Uncharted series, don't watch this because it'll ruin it because it's not even Uncharted. It's literally just an adventure film, and they just slap the Uncharted name on it and give you a few little breadcrumbs that make you feel like you're in the Uncharted world, but you're not. And I'm like, okay, that's what I thought. But anyways, Uncharted, it's up to $140 million worldwide. It made 51 domestically. I don't know. At 1 minute, I'm like, oh, okay, it made a lot of money. It's going to make its money back. But then it's going to make enough money to warrant a sequel, which means that I won't ever get a true Uncharted film. So that breaks my heart. Anyways, so we got Spider-Man. I just want to look at this. Another Tom Holland movie. Spider-Man No Way Home. It's up to $1.8 billion. And if you look at the lifetime gross domestically, it is at third, beating out Avatar. I hated that movie, Avatar. I did. I hated it. But up here with all the other big ones. So that's cool. Good for him. All right, moving on. New one. If you guys have not seen Peacemaker on HBO Max, I cannot recommend it enough. It is fantastic. It is amazing. I found myself really enjoying the film. When I first heard that they were making a Peacemaker movie, or sorry, not movie, TV show, I was like, oh, good Lord. Why? And then I saw Peacemaker in the Suicide Squad 2 movie, and I'm like, oh, he's okay. Like, but I don't want to see a TV show about it. And then the trailer came out, and I'm like, this is like over the top, looks stupid. I had zero desire to watch it. So I just ignored it. I didn't even watch it. I didn't really watch any reviews of it. I was like, it looks dumb. The intro song came on YouTube. Like, it has like this intro song, and it's them dancing. And I watched it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is cheesy crap garbage. I am not watching the show. And so what happened was, I don't watch too many shows, but I was, you know how I feel about Book of Boba Fett. I was watching Book of Boba Fett, and I got to this crossroads. I'm like, okay, I can put on episode 3 of Book of Boba Fett, or I can watch something else. But I'm like, Book of Boba Fett is such a disappointment. I do not want to put myself through that. So I was searching for something else to watch. I usually watch like one thing at night as I'm going to bed, and I was like, okay, I don't want to watch Book of Boba Fett, and I'm like, I don't know what to watch. I'm like, whatever, I'll turn on this Peacemaker show. I'll fall asleep to it, I'm sure. I watched the first episode, and I was like, that's not that bad. Like, it was still over the top, and the humor is like, I feel like it's trying way too hard to be funny, and most of the times it's misses, but there's occasional some that are really funny. So I was like, okay, it's not that bad. And then I watched episode 2. When it came out. Or at this point, I think they had like 3 episodes out already because, I just didn't want to watch it for a while. And so then I watched episode 2 and then the 3. And then I found myself like waiting for the next episode to watch. And I was so excited to see it. It finally ended. This is episode 8. And the show is still, some parts are just trying too hard to be funny. And I'm just like, this is kind of annoying. Maybe taking jokes like a couple beats too far, where they just keep on like hearkening down to that joke, and you're just like, okay, please move on, please. But yes, so it's a great show, fantastic. Here is a scene. I'm gonna spoil some stuff for you. So, and I didn't know this was happening because it's funny, it's over the top, it's definitely rated R. So I like that stuff. It's like The Boys rated R, like super violent, things like that. Boys, I love The Boys on Amazon Prime. But watch this scene here. Just watch it. It's going to spoil some stuff. So this is the very end. They just killed all the bad guys. They saved the world, all this kind of stuff. And he talked to Amanda Waller and was like, dude, you need to send like the Justice League here. These aliens are about to just destroy everything. And then Amanda Waller's like, well, you guys need to take care of it. And he's like, well, it's just a few people in Peacemaker. Like, no one has powers. Even Peacemaker doesn't have powers. So they're like, whatever, we'll do it on our own. So this is the end. They just saved the day type of thing. And so here he comes walking. I don't even know if I can show the volume because it'll get flagged. And then after they're all done, the Justice League shows up. After they have saved the world, their people and their crew died. It's just like they actually have the real actors. They didn't have Superman. They didn't have Wonder Woman in it. But they have like the people in there. And it was just so funny. Like, this show is great. I can't recommend it enough if you like this kind of stuff. Much better than, because it's James Gunn, much better than, what was it? Suicide Squad 2. Much better than that movie. It's good. I recommend it. Please go and watch it. Yeah. All right, moving on. Now we got, so every Marvel movie that's on, or Marvel TV show, like Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, The Defenders, Iron Fist, they're all leaving Netflix. And they're no longer being on Netflix. And that's the thing that people don't really realize is, especially, this is more hearkening to the VV community. I'm sure you guys have seen that video, but that I did. But anyways, I think they don't realize that when you license something, you don't actually own it. And at any point, they could probably come and take it away, even if you made it, because it has their characters in it. So Marvel is taking back their characters, even though Netflix made these shows. Because at the time when Netflix made these shows, there was no Disney Plus. And, Disney is a smart company. They're not stupid. And they're massive. And they know what they're doing. So they looked at Netflix. Netflix was, up and coming. I mean, Netflix has been around, but Netflix probably approached them and was like, hey, the MCU is huge. Can we have some of your movies on there? And so we got like Iron Man movies and things like that were on Netflix. And then they're like, these are really popular. Can we do some TV shows with your licensable characters? And Netflix is like, okay, well, you can only have certain characters because we don't want you using, Iron Man or something like that. So they give them some like lesser known characters, some street level characters that will be easy to do and translate without having a whole bunch of CGI. So it won't make it, because they're doing these on not a movie budget. They're doing it on a TV show budget. So they have to give them characters that are smaller in scale, so they don't have to have these massive budgets and then make their characters look bad. So they do the Daredevil stuff, and then that's a hit. And then I think Jessica Jones was next, Punisher, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Defenders, all that stuff. They did it, all really good hits. People liked them, each running a couple seasons or more. And then they just kind of sat there on the platform for years. But all the while, Disney's like, there's something to this streaming thing. So they made their own streaming service, Disney Plus, after all these shows were pretty much made, or like a few of them were, had maybe a season or so left. Disney Plus comes out, but Disney owns these characters. When you license something, they still own it. You don't own it at all. So then they told them, like, the reason why they stopped making, like, I think they didn't make season 4 Daredevil, and I think even season 3 of Punisher, and maybe something else. The reason why they didn't let them, Disney wouldn't let them make them anymore. They said, no, you're done. Because the whole time Disney knew that they were going to come out with Disney Plus, because they tried their hand in the streaming service by licensing out these characters, and they're like, streaming seems to be the way to go. That's where we're going. So we're going to need our characters back, and we don't want to have our own platform and not have our characters on there, or not, you owning the rights to them and doing whatever you want, making Daredevil season 5, 6, 7, and then messing up with our big plans. So they stopped them from making any more Daredevil TV shows, even though it was a hit. They just literally said no, because in the background they're working on their Disney Plus. So they're all leaving. Everyone's like, where are they going to go? Basically what this article is saying. They're not going to go on Disney Plus, because Disney Plus, if you ever watch it, is very geared towards kids. This has way too much blood and violence, and they're rated R. Not for nudity or anything, but blood and violence. That would never show up on a Disney Plus. It's Hulu, which is owned by Disney, is probably going to be the next home for the series, which I agree. Especially with like Punisher and stuff like that. And you're not going to put one of the Netflix shows on Disney Plus, but not the others. I bet they'll even wipe out the Netflix name. They won't call it Daredevils. Netflix's Daredevils. I don't think they'll do that. I think they'll just wipe out Netflix ever producing the show at all. It might be in the credits somewhere, but they're going to get rid of all that. It's just going to be Marvel's Daredevil, Marvel's Punisher, stuff like that. And it'll end up on Hulu. Yeah, you'll have until March 1st. March 1st, and then they're gone. So that's what happens with licensed characters. You don't own them. So at any point, whoever owns them, depending on their contract, and I guarantee you Disney isn't stupid, and their contracts basically get to let Disney do whatever they want. And so they will come and they will take all your characters away. Everything you have. They'll stop you from making it, like they did. They stopped you from making Daredevil season 4. Last one on the list is Star Trek 4. It's poised to start production in late this year, 2022. Talks begin with Chris Pine. I really liked this series of Star Trek. I watched the originals with my dad, and I liked them. The first one I actually saw in theater was Generations. That's the one with Captain Kirk and Patrick Stewart, and they have to go through the Nexus, the little beam of light, which makes you wonder, did they ever even actually leave the Nexus? Maybe they thought they left the Nexus. I had this conversation with my friend like a month ago. Because the Nexus gives you whatever you want. So what if you wanted to get out of the Nexus and save the day? Because that's basically what happened with Patrick Stewart. He was in the Nexus. They had to go bring him out of the Nexus. But he technically went back in time to right before the Nexus took him into the Nexus. And then he ended up saving the day, but Captain Kirk died. What if he's still in the Nexus and it's all just a fantasy that he came out of the Nexus? Big think there. Something to think about, ponder about. Everything else has been a lie since. Everything else has just been a fantasy inside the Nexus. He's still there to this day. Or actually, this is in the future, so he will be there one day. Wasn't like the Star Trek Generations is Star Trek 2000? Is it the 2400s or 300s? I can't remember. Anyways, I really like this Star Trek series. I did. I liked it a lot. And so I'm excited that they're coming back in another one. I think what they're going to do is they're going to put it on Paramount Plus. I hope they don't, because Paramount wants to bring their streaming service. Everyone needs a streaming service. That's the thing. Everyone needs to have something like this. And you're just going to have before it's like, oh, you need to cut the cord, like cable, because like you have all these shows that you have to pay for. So you're basically back to the same thing. Now you just have a million different streaming services, which is, I mean, fine, I guess. But yeah, it's just funny. Now we have HBO Max, Amazon Prime, Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus. We have 5. I mean, Amazon Prime comes with our Amazon Prime. Hulu I got for Black Friday. It was $1 a year, and the only reason I got it was so I can watch the Pam and Tommy biopic thing. And it was a buck a month for a year. And then HBO Max comes with my phone. So the only ones I technically are really paying for is Disney Plus and Netflix. I want to get rid of Netflix, but my girlfriend likes it. And Disney Plus I got so I could watch all the Marvel stuff. So that is it. Have a good night.